The last person I loved was over a decade ago. Losing hope. Throwaway account. As the title indicates, I, 31 male, have not experienced love in more than 10 years, and it is beginning to take a toll on me. I apologize in advance. I did not realize how lengthy this would become. Some background. As a child, I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, which is now categorized as high-functioning autism. I worked extremely hard as a young person to comprehend this condition and to compensate for the associated weaknesses. I feel that I manage fairly well. I am highly empathetic, and much of the admiration I have received in my career comes from my bedside manner, communication skills, and kindness. While I have numerous acquaintances, I possess very few deep connections. The ones I do have are genuinely treasured. My first love left me for the guy who had deeper connections with her. This undoubtedly shattered the little self-esteem I had as a geeky teenage boy, but that was not even the worst part. Although she chose him or whoever the next boy was, she would not let me go. I still had to be there to fulfill all her emotional needs, and whenever I attempted to limit our communication or gain some space to move on, she would harm herself or end up in the emergency room. I was trapped in this cycle for over a year, probably closer to 2. To this day, I am incredibly proud of the teenager I was for extricating myself from that situation in a way that prevented her from further self-harm. Often, I believe he had more sense than I do now. This experience left a lasting impression, and it took years before I could even look at a girl with any romantic or sexual thoughts. Fast forward to the early days of university, and I was finding my footing, joyful, brimming with energy, and eccentric confidence in who I was. A girl who was tomboyish and quirky entered my life, and we quickly became friends, then best friends, and eventually a couple once I understood what was truly happening in my heart and mind. It was the kind of situation where everyone around us knew for months, and they were cheering for us. Even as friends, we were wonderfully odd together. I cherished her for both the ways we were similar and for all the ways she was unique. I suspect she was some degree of neurodivergent, perhaps ADHD, which may have influenced our connection. In any case, she was the only person in my adult life with whom I felt completely myself, at ease, or as they say, fully unmasked. She had insecurities regarding her physical appearance. She was not what one would label as conventionally attractive and had a facial scar. This was compounded by the fact that I had a fan club that I was largely oblivious to, including a very conventionally attractive girl whom all the other guys on campus were pursuing. It made no difference. From the very beginning of our friendship, she was the only girl in my world who captured my attention, and I found her more beautiful with each passing day. For a time, everything was wonderful. I am certainly not without my shortcomings, but I put forth my best effort, and by all outside measures, I succeeded. Then something changed. To this day, I do not precisely know what it was, but here is the best I have been able to piece together. Something occurred that reminded her of a situation in a previous relationship, which triggered her avoidant tendencies, and she spiraled. She ended our relationship, saying I was the best boyfriend she had ever had, asking for one last kiss, and then she walked away. I wish I could say the ensuing weeks, months, and years unfolded better, but it broke me. I had finally allowed myself to love again, to be genuinely vulnerable, and then it all slipped away. Not just the woman I loved wholeheartedly, but also my best friend, without any articulated or defined reason at the time. I managed to piece myself back together, thanks to my friends. I truly appreciate them, but I was never the same afterward. Occasionally, it feels like a small piece of my former self shines through the cracks, mainly when I am with people I trust, and more so as time passes. However, it is just fleeting glimpses. No matter how hard I try, I cannot seem to summon the energy to be who I once was. I am content with who I am now and accept that I may just have grown into this person. Yet, I loved who I was. I continued with my life. I was unhappy but remained productive. Part of my coping strategy involved keeping myself busy as a means of distraction from my feelings. I focused on living my life and achieving other goals. Initially, I believed that the person who fell into my life back then might appear again. However, she was over a decade ago, and despite yearning for it more than anything, I have never found another friend like her, let alone anything more. Objectively, I have built a solid life with a good foundation. I possess a well-respected job that I am passionate about. My unique skill set allows me to earn a reasonable salary, not exorbitant, but a bit above average enough that I now have the luxury of working part-time to create more space for hobbies, friends, and the possibility of finding love. This comes after a time when I was not financially secure and relied heavily on scholarships and aid. I even managed to purchase an older home, which I have slowly been renovating during my spare time, transforming it into a beautiful dwelling, something I always aspired to do, albeit ideally with someone beside me. My work provides immense meaning. Every now and again, I get to save a life, and more often, I can make others' lives a bit kinder, which certainly gives me fulfillment and purpose. Regarding my dating experiences, I am a tall, reasonably attractive guy, and in most aspects of my life, I am quite together. There has certainly been no shortage of women expressing interest in me. I tend to attract a bit of a following no matter where I go, which I know is already a considerably privileged position compared to many. There have been other relationships, but I have not loved anyone since her. In my first relationship after her, I thought I was close, but in hindsight, I realize it was merely a result of my strong desire to experience love again, and it would not have worked for other reasons regardless. I have attempted to live my best life, focusing on other aspects and observing who might come my way, but this strategy has not succeeded. I have also tried actively searching, dating apps, etc. I receive matches and attention, yet the entire experience is soul-crushing. I believe it was easier to cope in earlier times, but with each passing year of nothing materializing and every person I meet who simply does not click with me, the weight increases. I find it challenging to locate what I am seeking because I am genuinely drawn to people's quirks, personalities, and energies, yet I have discovered no effective way to assess for these qualities in advance. That type of connection requires time and exposure. Yes, there is a basic level of physical attraction that must exist, but looks do not matter nearly as much as many believe. As I grow older, the world seems to shrink and fewer new people enter my life. It does not help that it is highly unlikely I will meet someone through work. I work in a teaching hospital, so coworkers are a no-go, clients are not an option, and students are completely off limits. I do not think I ever took people for granted, but if there is one advantage to living with this grief and loneliness, it is the sense of gratitude and perspective it brings. I am thankful for everything I have and for all I have been able to achieve. There are only a few things in life that truly matter, and energy is best not squandered on trivial matters. All those everyday inconveniences and any drama slide right off my back. My greatest fear, which is nearly my only fear, is not death itself. Given the choice, there is much more I would like to experience in this world. However, if I were to receive a terminal diagnosis tomorrow, I could depart feeling that I left a positive mark on my world and that my impact would outlive me. My genuine fear is that I have already experienced the love of my life. I have already lived the best day of my life, and everything afterward has merely been an afterthought, an epilogue. And therapy, yes, that is a work in progress, I acknowledge. I know I should come to terms with the possibility that I may navigate life without experiencing love again, and that even if I do find love, it will not magically resolve everything. But I doubt I will ever be fully at peace with this reality. Ultimately, we are all social beings, and it is entirely natural to have a desire to love and be intimately loved, the kind of affection that even the deepest friendships cannot satisfy. It is a need that has been significant to me, and one I have not been able to fulfill. It devastates me to sit alongside cherished family and friends, yet still feel this sense of loneliness gnawing away at me. Most days, I manage to cope. I attempt not to dwell on it when I am alone and let myself spiral, but occasionally, it hits me like a ton of bricks, leaving me clutching my heart, sobbing so violently that I struggle to breathe. The only way is forward. I will make even more of an effort to get out there, meet as many people as possible, and try to forge more friendships. I plan to switch my workouts from home to a gym and join hobby clubs, which will be quite challenging for someone who is extremely introverted, as I deplete my social energy rapidly. I will persevere until my last breath, but I am losing hope or may have already lost it, and I am running out of distractions. I am uncertain about what I seek to achieve by posting this. Catharsis? Sympathy. perhaps the brutal honesty of strangers on the internet. My good friends have heard this 1,000 times, but they are either happily with their high school sweethearts or single mothers who have had just as much difficulty finding love as I have. Summary: I have autism, abandonment issues, had a best friend love whom I have not found anything comparable to in over a decade, and I am losing hope. Story 2. My GF, 24F, just had a huge meltdown with me, and I, 25M, have no idea what to do with the complete storm of thoughts that happened. I, a 25-year-old male, along with my partner, a 24-year-old female, have been in a relationship for 6 years. I was diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder 4 years ago in 2021 and have been on medication since then. My family has a history of mental health issues. My father has ADHD, and I lost 2 aunts to depression. I have faced my own struggles with depression and anxiety, undergone therapy, and have since gotten my life back on track, feeling happier than ever. My girlfriend has lived with me for nearly our entire relationship, which I realize is quite early for such a commitment. At the time we moved in together, I was still dealing with anxiety and depression, and I was unaware that I had ADHD, which made me emotionally different. She is currently unemployed and does very little around the house, but I haven't insisted she contribute since I am willing to handle those responsibilities myself. Things began to improve only last year. She has her own array of psychological issues to confront, and I empathize with her struggles because I have experienced similar challenges myself, and so has my family. A few years ago, I encouraged her to seek therapy, and she did, but after a while, she stopped going despite initially feeling better. By the way, I work from home, meaning we spend the entirety of our days under the same roof. This context is essential. Last year, I had a work-related trip for 2 weeks, and during that time, I needed her to retrieve a verification code on my phone, which I had not taken with me. I provided her with the password, and she helped me access it. Fast forward 6 months, my girlfriend had a significant emotional outburst. She claimed to have discovered an old conversation between me and a former coworker, a woman whom she already disliked, because she also has ADHD. This coworker was apparently flirtatious, and my girlfriend found a video in which the woman was dancing on a pole, a 10-second clip that I couldn't recall the context of, but the coworker mentioned she had just started. Although my girlfriend didn't accuse me of cheating or planning to cheat, she was very upset that I had not simply ceased communication with this woman, despite her clear advances. My girlfriend deleted all the messages, explaining that her mind blanked, so I am unable to review exactly what was said. However, I felt no concern because I had no romantic intentions toward this woman. She was merely a former colleague who occasionally initiated conversations, and at that time, I lacked friends to talk to since my girlfriend often napped throughout the afternoons. There was genuinely nothing in our exchanges that indicated I wanted anything more, because I did not. Following this incident, a cascade of grievances emerged. She accused me of not providing enough attention, not spending time together, not watching shows or movies, failing to listen to her feelings, not communicating enough, and being unaware of when something was amiss. She expressed uncertainty about whether I love her. In truth, I am quite open. If I have something to express, I do so directly. I do not bottle up my feelings only to explode later. I prefer to communicate as issues arise. What frustrates me is that, whenever I sense something isn't right, I ask her about it, and she insists nothing is wrong. I remember a specific occasion when I inquired if everything was truly fine, as she was behaving unusually, and she responded with, "It's nothing." When I pressed her for clarification, she responded angrily and left the room. Given that I have a hearing issue in my left ear, loud sounds cause me immense pain. Since that incident, I have refrained from inquiring more than once. So, how can I understand her feelings when she is unwilling to express them? How can we engage in meaningful conversations when her only contributions revolve around her childhood, which she recounts repeatedly? Additionally, I have a genetic condition affecting both my knees, limiting my ability to walk much. I have communicated this to her. If she wishes to go out, I am willing, but I cannot walk for extended periods. A brief aside. It genuinely worries me that she seems to have little to share beyond her childhood experiences, and motivating her to engage in activities is challenging. However, I have noticed slow but positive changes. She used to struggle with being in public spaces or shopping alone, but now she can do those things without significant anxiety. Witnessing her take those steps was incredibly rewarding. I cannot adequately express how elated I felt when she managed to go out, purchase what she needed, and return home alone. It was a moment of profound joy for me. Then came another outburst in which she expressed feelings of being undervalued and listed numerous minor grievances that cumulatively affected her perception. When I asked how I could help improve this situation, her response was simply, "I don't know." In hopes of providing assistance, I requested that she specify what I do that makes her feel this way so I could make adjustments. Her answer was, "I'm not sure. I can't explain it. I feel trapped." I consistently encourage her to share anything, even the smallest concerns, to prevent emotional suppression. I have reassured her that she can express any discomfort she feels, and I would be open to improving, yet she remains silent. What frustrates me most is that she experiences intense emotional meltdowns, and suddenly, I become the one at fault for failing to act upon things she never communicated. Moreover, I have always trusted her and had nothing to conceal, and still do. She had unrestricted access to everything. She stumbled upon a single conversation from 4 years ago, which I believe held no wrongdoing on my part. I honestly didn't perceive the girl's advances because I don't view people in that light. She had a meltdown 6 months later, bringing up various unrelated issues, yet she remains unsure about what she truly wants. She did acknowledge that despite my caring demeanor, treating her well, and understanding her, this is precisely why she hesitates to discuss her feelings. She mentioned her desire to avoid becoming emotionally dependent, though she has no friends, not even a single one, and expressed longing for her siblings and wishing to be with them. After she vented and we had a dialogue, I inquired if she felt any better. Her response was, "No." Confounded, I asked if she needed some time alone, and again she replied, "No." When I asked what I could do to help, her answer remained, "I don't know." She went to sleep while I lay awake, unable to even consider closing my eyes. I am conflicted. I am unsure how to proceed. This level of breakdown is unprecedented for her. There have been challenging moments before, but never anything as intense as this. I apologize. I needed to express my frustrations. Most of what I wrote, I have spoken directly to her. I do not keep many thoughts to myself, aside from unresolved issues, but every time I voiced something, she redirected the conversation elsewhere. I feel as though she doesn't fully comprehend what she wants, but expects me to read her mind. Is this emotional dependence? As I reflect on this, it appears that may be the case, and honestly, I'm at a loss for what to do. Story 3. Am I the asshole for expecting sex? Hello everyone. I, male, 25, have a question regarding a rather personal subject. If you are not in the mood to read about the experiences that occur in the bedroom between my girlfriend, female, 23, and me, I recommend scrolling past this post. To be direct, I feel quite sad. On Valentine's Day, I chose to surprise my girlfriend by arriving at her place earlier than she expected. It was a Friday. I stay with her every weekend from Friday to Sunday. She was still on her way back from school and thought I would be getting there much later. When she unexpectedly saw me at home, she was overjoyed. We exchanged the Valentine's gifts we had prepared for each other, and everything felt perfect. A while later, as we were lying on the bed together, my girlfriend was in the middle of telling me about a sweater she was knitting when she suddenly decided to show me her collection of yarn that she kept stored in a plastic box under her bed. I quickly told her I believed her and that she didn't need to show me, but before I could stop her, she had already pulled the box out along with a bundle of bondage rope that I had secretly placed there for a surprise. I had planned something special for her that evening. I wanted to tie her to the bed and completely indulge her. When she saw the rope, I laughed since I felt exposed, and she laughed too. I quickly hid it again, and we didn't discuss it any further. That night, it got quite late. I often try to express to her that I would like to go to bed earlier, not just to sleep, but to spend some quiet time together, talking, watching a YouTube video, or simply being close. However, she never listens. She always postpones, and as a result, we once again found ourselves in bed later than I had hoped since we were both exhausted. She knew I had something special planned for her, and it was just the two of us at home that night. Wasn't that the ideal opportunity? Honestly, It frustrates me how often she makes impulsive decisions that unintentionally ruin special moments, and I was determined not to let that happen again this time. So, I gently told her I had another surprise for her, a lingerie set. We have been together for 5 years, and I had never given her something like that before because I always thought it might be somewhat objectifying and disrespectful to women. But this time, I believed it could be a meaningful gift, something to show her how much she means to me, how beautiful I perceive her to be, and that she belongs to me. She has mentioned that she wants me to be more dominant. I explained my reasoning behind the gift, and she found it sweet. After a bit of hesitation, she agreed to put it on, and she looked absolutely breathtaking. After some kissing and teasing, I playfully tossed her onto the bed and tied her wrists to it. Then came the second surprise. I brought out a professional blindfold I purchased for her and placed it over her eyes. Unfortunately, she didn't fully embrace the moment. She kept laughing, making faces, and shaking her head until the blindfold slipped off. But at least the idea was enjoyable. Then came the third surprise. What she hadn't noticed yet was that I had also bought a leg spreader, which I had discreetly attached to the bondage rope at the foot of the bed. This meant I could restrain both her wrists and her ankles at the same time, something she had always fantasized about. Once she realized what was occurring, she genuinely seemed very excited. I informed her that we were going to play an edging game. Each time she approached climaxing, I would stop. I started by kissing her, whispering sweet words and dirty talk in alignment with her desires, and gently teasing her body with my fingers. It didn't take long before she was on the brink. I repeated this pattern, denying her release once more. Next, I adjusted the blindfold, another pointless attempt, and presented surprises 4 and 5, a ball gag and a magic wand. The wand was actually my main Valentine's gift to her, but with all the sales on adult toys, I couldn't resist purchasing additional items, especially since these were all things she had fantasized about. Using the wand, I brought her to the edge several more times. It worked remarkably quickly, until she was pleading with me to allow her to finish. Finally, I gave her permission, and she climaxed very loudly, unlike anything she had done before. Afterward, I untied her and held her close. She revealed that this was indeed one of her greatest fantasies fulfilled, but then she quickly requested that I put the bondage gear away. I understood when she expressed that she was too tired to reciprocate. We went to sleep, though I couldn't deny feeling a bit frustrated. The next day, I thought she might want to make amends, but nothing transpired in the morning. We enjoyed a pleasant day together. I don't recall exactly what we did, but I do remember that after a trip to the supermarket, she became quite overstimulated. She needed to remove all her jewelry and lay down on the couch. As someone who is very sensitive to other people's emotions, I felt the heavy energy of her frustration. It affected me, as it always does. I attempted to comfort her, this time by giving her a head and foot massage. Deep down, I also hoped this would remind her that she could do something nice for me in return. I often have to drop silent hints like this because she rarely massages me or engages in anything else that makes me feel like she is initiating physical contact. I feel as though we always do things for her rather than for both of us. My love language is physical touch, not necessarily in a sexual context. I simply crave intimacy, warmth, and the feeling of being cherished. That's why I frequently do things for her that I wish she would do for me, like providing massages or kissing her cheek. However, she once told me that she doesn't enjoy putting in effort for me because she gets nothing from it, so to her, it feels like a waste of time. That evening, we went to bed early for the first time in a long while. She had the entire day to devise a plan to put on the lingerie again, to tie me up for a change. The bondage gear was still under her bed. I hadn't put it away yet, secretly hoping she'd give me the chance to experience it too. It's a Valentine's gift for both of us, after all. She could have played the same edging game with me. She knew my kinks and sensitive spots. Or she could have kept it simple with just a little hand job. But she did nothing. And whether it's about sex, a gentle caress, scratching my back, or giving me a massage, I just didn't want to have to request it. It hurts that I have to plead for affection and that she doesn't think of these things on her own. She has no issue with touch. She loves cuddling and appreciates my physical affection. In fact, I constantly have to scratch her back whenever we are together. And what do I receive in return? Nothing. She just doesn't enjoy making me feel good. Instead, I feel as though I am perpetually being ordered around. That night, I refrained from asking for sex because it felt humiliating and disrespectful to myself. I simply tried to fall asleep while feeling angry and heartbroken. This isn't the first time I've felt this way. My frustration has been escalating because she has also mistreated me in the past and continues to do so. So now I ask, am I the antagonist for expecting some reciprocity, for desiring to experience something that I may never have the opportunity to again? Because, honestly, I can't foresee myself ever bringing the bondage rope with me again. I can't help but feel that if a woman had written this about a man, the judgment would be unequivocal. Story 4. I am 26. Am undecided about ending things with my girlfriend, F25, after her last problematic episode. I have been in a relationship with a girl for 6 months. Throughout this period, we have encountered numerous challenges. It was her initial experience with a romantic relationship, and she was unsure how to navigate it. I often felt overlooked, as she tended to prioritize her friends over our bond. Our activities were organized around their schedules, and only if they were not engaged. Otherwise, she would attempt to rearrange our plans. She seldom proposed spending time together, while she frequently took the initiative with her friends. She often overlooked my messages, but I noticed that she would reply to her friends almost instantaneously. Furthermore, there were occasions when she declined my invitations, but if her friends invited her to do something simultaneously, she was always available. I discussed this concern with her on several occasions, and she consistently assured me that she valued me more than them, that I was the most significant aspect of her life, and that she could not imagine living without me. However, her actions did not align with her words. She claimed to enjoy spending the majority of her time with me, and that she could not be with them for more than a few hours, yet I frequently felt as though she was forcing herself to be with me when she genuinely wanted to engage in other activities. One day, while we were studying in the library, she repeatedly glanced in their direction all morning and checked her phone for messages from them. When I pointed this out, she refuted everything, insisting that she was simply observing people pass by and even expressed indignation at my suggestion. However, later, she confessed to them, and I felt betrayed by her dishonesty. I decided to end the relationship because I felt misled by her actions. However, after a period of time, we began communicating again and reconciled. She acknowledged her many mistakes, stating that she had come to terms with her faults and would strive not to repeat them. Nonetheless, since then, I have observed that, even in minor matters, she continues to prioritize her friends over me. I have no issue with her maintaining friendships or socializing with them, but consistently being placed in second place leaves me feeling undervalued. Moreover, whenever we meet, since we do not reside close to each other, I am almost always the one traveling to her. The few instances when I have requested her to come to me, she has fabricated excuses, even asking me to drive an hour to pick her up from a station when she could easily access my city's station on her own. In addition to these problems, something significant occurred yesterday that I found particularly concerning. She was waiting to take an exam, one she had failed 3 times and was extremely anxious about, to the extent of studying until the last moment. I was there to support her. A guy she knew approached and asked if she could notify him of his grade when the professor announced it, as he had to leave. When the professor distributed the grades, she immediately texted him. At that moment, I observed a clear shift in her demeanor. Whereas she had been sitting close to me and holding my hand before, she moved slightly away, placed her phone on a different table so I could not see it, and leaned her arm and head to cover it. I noticed she kept glancing to see if he had responded, occasionally checking to see if I was watching. When the guy finally replied, she picked up her phone, lowered it beside her leg to keep it out of my view, and then, pretending to engage in something else while staring ahead, used the corner of her eye to see if I was observing before reacting to his message. Later, she grasped her phone again under the guise of doing something else, and I noticed that he had sent her a thank you message accompanied by heart emoticons, to which she responded with a heart reaction. I confronted her about this because it felt like a breach of my trust and a lack of respect. This is particularly painful given my family history of infidelity, of which she is fully aware. She is also someone who tends to be extremely jealous. She has been upset with me in the past for something as trivial as replying with "okay" to a message from a girl thanking me. She has repeatedly told me that, especially in a relationship, certain behaviors should be avoided if they risk being misconstrued. When I raised this issue with her, she began to justify herself with contradictory explanations. Initially, she claimed it was an unconscious act and she did not realize how she was holding her phone. Then, she stated she acted this way out of fear of my reaction. Later, she argued she simply did not want to cause me to worry. She apologized, but her apologies were always accompanied by excuses, attempting to downplay the situation by saying, "It was just a reaction." To me, all of this comes across as insincere. And honestly, the fact that she felt the need to conceal her phone while replying to this message, or that she was constantly checking her phone when just moments before she was too focused on studying to even reply to a friend, leads me to believe that she might have some degree of interest in this guy. When we discussed the issue, she began to cry, insisting that she recognized her mistake and pleading with me to give her another chance, something she does every time we encounter a serious situation, always promising changes that never materialize. Honestly, all of this has deeply affected me, especially since I am particularly sensitive to these matters due to my past experiences. It is prompting me to seriously consider ending the relationship. At the same time, I am still very much in love with her, despite the pain she has caused me repeatedly, and I am unsure if my response is excessive in this situation. I do not know whether to grant her another opportunity or to end things. Summary: my girlfriend has continually prioritized her friends over me, despite her assurances to change. The most recent incident, where she concealed her phone while replying to a guy with a heart, has caused me pain. Now, I am uncertain whether to offer her another chance or to terminate the relationship.